I am an Albertan. This place has been home for more than 30 years. And I'm the first to admit that we've been a hard sell on the whole idea of green or alternate energy. That's because if you drill a hole in the ground underneath my feet, there's a pretty good chance you're going to hit either oil or gas. Alberta's Hutterites have jumped on the green energy bandwagon in a big way. Their motivations are not as clear. Oil, gas, and electricity prices are at record lows. So we are on a quest to find out why a 500-year-old religious sect is investing in very modern green energy technology. This story is not about a traditional view of the energy marketplace. In fact, it's about an alternative view of the world. It's about the worldview of Hutterites and their motivations for investing in cutting-edge green energy technology. Hutterites have long been an integral part of Alberta's rural cultural tapestry. They established colonies here in 1918, shortly after the First World War, to escape persecution in the United States for refusing military service. Today, about 175 colonies dot the Alberta prairie landscape, supported mainly by agriculture and manufacturing industries. When we came to visit the Iron Creek colony, we came in search of a story of a brave experiment that started about 20 years ago. We couldn't find anyone to tell us that story because, frankly, it was not a success. It was at best a mitigated failure. The idea was, hey, we raise pigs and we have lots of pig manure. Pig manure can give you methane if you extract the methane properly, and that methane can be burned to power an engine, which will then generate electricity. It ran for about 5 years after taking up colony resources to put it in, service it, maintain it. And in the end, it hasn't run at all for about 10 years. But you know something? It's funny. There's a sense of resilience here. As we walked through the yard on our visit, I looked up. Yeah, there's a solar panel powering a yard light. That's all it does. But right now, maybe that's a whole new beginning. Jim Frederes, Professor Emeritus and Sociologist at the University of Calgary, has some experience trying to understand this reclusive religious sect. He has testified in court as an expert witness on Hutterites. He says Hutterites are not opposed to modern technology if it helps the collective.
No, I think that's where the adaptability comes in. I think what they're saying is that it's not technology per se that we're opposed to. Look, they have been leaders in the use of genetically modified grains. They are saying, look, if they produce a greater amount of materials per acreage, we're going for it. If we can give our beef certain kinds of supplements to increase, we're going to do it because they have this sense that they need to create a surplus. On the other hand, they're also saying theologically that one should not be involved in the mundane efforts of the larger society. So computers are not allowed. Oh, yes, they are allowed because certain people need to use them. So you might find the hog boss or the wheat manager who needs those things to calculate how much fertilizer he needs. And so computers are allowed, but they would not be allowed as a personal instrument for an individual. So they make the distinction between what will be useful for the collective rather than for the individual. It's the collective that is the important element in that whole process.
Green technology on the colonies certainly does have its critics. Behind me is a solar thermal heating system. It's one of the earliest in Canada. It was installed over a decade ago.
Hallo. Ik ben daar met Ruben. Ik sta in Ruben tegen voor...
Philip Waldner looks after it. Philip compares the criticisms of this system to those Hutterites had when colony members switched from outdoor toilets to running water or from tandem trucks to semis many, many years ago.
I guess that 3 axles and toilets and indoors and outdoors, they didn't have a biblical ground anyway, so neither would they here, right? In the Bible, Paul writes in Romans, seid nicht träge, was ihr tun sollt, seid brünstig in Geist, schicket euch in die Zeit. Not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. Basically, it says that you should live wisely, make most of every opportunity, and that you should adjust to the times.
Philip is one of the progressives. He's all for implementing the latest technology in his community. He also believes that the investment in green energy is a pretty good fit with Hutterite culture and religion.
I think so, because you go out and plant the garden, you expect your plants to absorb the good old natural sun to grow the fruits, right? For us to go out and absorb the sun to help with the heating, I can't see a problem religiously or as a community. Plus it'll save on greenhouse gas emissions and stuff. Is that your next question?
Are Hutterites environmentalists?
Well, not really. I wouldn't call them environmentalists because I think that they will use technology to extract the most surplus they can get out of whatever it is that they're dealing with. So I think that, as again we point out earlier, as fewer and fewer people need to be involved in the agricultural activities, they're looking to other activities, and they need to match those activities with the resources of the earth.
Sure, it's always nice to, think of saving the planet, that should always be on everybody's mind, but to be honest, burning natural gas, it's not as bad as, say, coal. And I think some of the visitors that have come to see our solar thermal, they at the back of their mind thought like, why have a solar thermal in southern Alberta with $3 gas?
Why indeed? Why does solar thermal energy make sense with natural gas at $3 a gigajoule? It has to do with Hutterite faith in their own economic future. The average Alberta village would be reluctant to make an investment that takes up to 25 years to pay off. The Hutterites here believe their colonies will last until the end of the world. Their investments are leveraged accordingly. Philip told us that if you want to invest in green energy technology and get the best bang for your buck, solar thermal is the way to go. Turning sunlight into heat is easy and very efficient. The downside to solar thermal is it does only one thing. It produces heat. Heat is nowhere near as usable or as versatile as electricity. So even with help from the government, these systems can take a long time to pay off, and especially when natural gas is just so cheap.
When I first heard about geothermal and I did the research on geothermal, it was like 40 to 45-year payback, even with the government grant that you're able to get this day and age. It's still very poor economics. The best that I have seen is solar thermal for payback, but that's poor because of our cheap natural gas in Alberta.
Let's look at it from the corporate side. The corporate side says, okay.
If we were to contrast that long-term investment from the perspective of a Hutterite colony with, say, shareholder investments in a public company, the shareholder is looking for a return at very regular, short-term, quarterly or yearly increments.
We can't have a long 15-year period in which we're going to pay off our shareholders because they will just demand their share. On the other hand, you have the Hutterites who say, okay, we're going into an activity. We're not sure whether we can make a profit this year or next year, but we're hoping 3 years down the road it will make a profit. We don't have shareholders who are demanding immediate profits from this activity. We're in it as a group, we're in it as a collective. We can shuffle our money as we see fit without worrying about shareholders because the collective has agreed this is what we're going to do. So they take a much more longer term view of an activity in terms of assessing its profitability or not. Remember though, they both the corporate and the Hutterites are interested in profits. Don't get me wrong on that. They have to have a profit because they need to split their colony after 15 to maximum 20 years. They've got to do that.
Jumbo Valley is the daughter colony of the White Lake Hutterite Colony near Barons, Alberta. 16 families were selected in July of 2016 to split and move to the new colony. This will be the first winter they heat their homes with a state-of-the-art geothermal system installed right when the colony was built.
I am Jerry Hofer with the White Lake Colony, the plumber when we were building the daughter colony, I should say. It was quite the experience. It was quite the learning curve.
Geothermal systems are not new, and these systems certainly are not new to the Hutterites.
Like heat from the ground and the cooling system.
Geothermal systems are expensive to install and relatively inefficient at producing heat when compared to solar thermal.
The payoff would be depending if the gas prices or the electrical prices fluctuate. If they go up or down, the further they go up, the faster it'll pay.
Jerry says that it may take a generation to pay off, but this system fits perfectly with the philosophy and the innovative nature of the Hutterites.
Well, the colony will stay there. It'll be there. It'll never be sold. It'll never move. It's always there. So you can take a 50-year mortgage if you want to. Just like we are harvesting from the ground with your grain and from your farming end, we are harvesting the heat and the cooling system out of the ground. While the risk would have been if it is actually going to work or if it's not going to work, because there's no other electrical heating or gas heating in the building other than the geothermal.
And what motivated you to take that chance? Why not just use natural gas, use hydrocarbons? We got plenty of them in this province.
In the long run, it's only pennies per day to heat or cool your house.
The solar thermal, geothermal, and methane digester systems we've investigated are tiny when compared to this. This is the largest solar power installation in Western Canada. It was completed in April 2015. 7,600 solar modules generate 2 million watts of electricity. It is on the Green Acres Hutterite Colony, about an hour and a half east of Calgary. David Vonish is the Chief Operating Officer of Skyfire Energy. He considers this his baby. His company designed and built it for the Hutterites.
I mean, I think Hutterite colonies are really well suited for power generation. It fits in well, I think, with the idea of growing your own food and you know, the self-sustaining lifestyle that colonies live to a degree. So generating power, or you know, farming the sun is just one more aspect to that.
David told us that his business relationship with the Green Acres Colony was quite the sales process. He had to understand the Hutterite lifestyle. He had to see things from the Hutterite perspective. That perspective included a healthy dose of skepticism about his new technology.
Working with Green Acres, it was several years. I mean, it was probably 2013, I think, when we first went out to site and began talking with them about this project. You know, on a high level, they were really interested in doing a large project. They weren't really interested in a small project. They wanted something substantial that would actually make a major impact on their electricity bills. And yeah, it was quite a sales process. I mean, lots of meetings on site, obviously, working through some of the technical questions and the economics of the system, getting them comfortable with ourselves as a solar company. We actually went on a tour with Green Acres, their electrician and many other members of their colony, out to BC to visit a system we did in Penticton as well as Kelowna for the Okanagan College. At that point, Green Acres had the opportunity to sit down with our client, talk about the systems they'd installed, tour the systems, and you know, ask the client about Skyfire, just to get comfortable with us as a company and to build that trust, right? So, you know, it was probably over a year of discussions before Green Acres decided to go ahead and actually build this project.
For Hutterites, investment in green energy fits in with their long-term worldview. Their systems yield a harvest from the sun, the earth, and the wind, just like the crops in their fields. Green energy technology fits in with the Hutterite agrarian roots and their innovative nature, but they are not without risk.
Being the first to go install such a large system, a totally groundbreaking project for Alberta, for Western Canada. So to be the first to build a project at that scale, absolutely, you know, there's questions you ask yourself, why has no one done this before, right? But you know, it was certainly great leadership they showed by taking that leap, taking the trust in Skyfire, and actually moving forward with this project.
If we get governments back in place that say, hey, use the natural gas, it's there for you, then you're going to see this on the solar market. But if we see a government that says, no, Alberta needs to get alternate energy sources and more renewable energy sources, the solar panels will be more readily available on the market, and the equipment to utilize the heat will be at the wholesalers, then it's going to take off. That's what I'm saying, but I'm just a Hutterite.
Their return on investment is for the next generation of Hutterites, but it will be there for the future of all Albertans.